Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you Game 6 in a best of 7 series. Let me go ahead and pull that back up. Game 6 in a best of 7 between Liquid Taeja and Liquid Snute here on Red City. Now, if you guys only watch my casts, you will know that Red City, this is the first time I am casting the game on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map. Let's figure out what's going on here, as we pretty much know the style and plays of these two players. Now, this map is rather large, and what is going on here? Is this actual... No, there's the ramp right there. I was going to say, is this an actual island map? There you have it. There are 4 possible spawning locations similar to a whirlwind, so both players will be forced to actually scout out their opponent. After that, you can see that there is a very easy to take third base, but it does have some interesting cliffs up here on the high ground, which is going to be more used by the Terran player. The Terran players can put siege tanks up along here and here to protect this rather narrow choke point. So this natural expansion much more protected than say whirlwind, just because of where units can be placed. Now, after that, you have 2 options for a third base. You can continue past this cliff off over here, or you can now come down into this position here. By taking this space, I do believe, yes, there is an extra wide ramp there, but you don't really expose yourself all too much. You just have 1 additional choke point to guard. The problem, though, is that as a Terran player, you will actually be expanding towards your opponent. Now, that is not necessarily bad. Some Terran players may opt to expand here for their third and then take this as their fourth with a planetary fortress. Planetary fortresses acting as a very strong defense against any sort of Zergling run-bys and things of that nature. This Overlord of Snute will quickly find his opponent and then will be able to park itself off in this high ground, or in this no man's land, so to speak, as Marines will not be able to get underneath it. We can see that the command center is currently being built up here. I think both of these players, going into Marines. Taeja, I guess, is thinking that this map is much more macro-centric, not going for gas, and now instead training up Marines. He may even try to go for a third command center, build it off here, saturate his 2 bases, and then win out the economic game, try to beat Snute at his own game, so to speak. Alright, there is 1 Marine on patrol right there. This Overlord from Snute will come into position and see that patrolling Marine and now back off. He doesn't want to actually reveal himself, but I believe he has done exactly that. So this SCV will now come in and take a look around. Now, for third base options, Snute will most likely just take this base right here. Makes much more sense, as it is not going to be expanding closer to his opponent. He doesn't want to be a hop, skip, and a jump away at all from his opponent, especially with siege tanks on the low ground here, being able to cover up onto the high ground. Alright, 1 poor SCV doing its job, sacrificing himself just to see what's going on inside a Zerg base. Marines making their way down to the low ground. There is that third command center here that I predicted, and Taeja is going to be giving Snute a taste of his own medicine, saying to himself, you know what, Snute, I know you like to play macro games. Why don't you take a look at my macro style? Factory now coming into play as well. We are going to be going into a reactor there. Supply depots now being placed down as well. We should be getting into reactor Hellions, and this is going to be a little bit of a concern for Snute. Snute, thinking that he has the economic advantage. He's going to get his 4 queens, but he hasn't noticed the Reapers yet. Perhaps he's thinking that, you know what, I still need to get those 4 queens. I need to be able to fend off any sort of harassment, but those additional 2 queens, wow, he's now going up into 6 queens. He doesn't really need the 6 queens. He would actually have been better if he had used the 100 or 300 minerals for a faster hatchery instead. This hatchery will be a bit delayed, as Snute does have superior economy for now, but with this third orbital command now calling in mules, we are going to see, Taeja just showing his absolute awareness of the game, realizing that that one mule is going to run out of time before it is able to mine, decides to pull him back away so that he doesn't lose those precious 30 minerals. All right, Snute coming in down over here. He is establishing up that third base. Meanwhile, the SCV workers, 38 SCVs compared to 47 drones. Triple training up SCVs. Taeja wanting to make sure that he doesn't fall behind too much. And now Taeja is going to force Snute to actually start training up units here. But there are a good number of queens. So Snute with those 6 queens with very strong creep spread should be able to push back all of this here in just a moment. Overlord kind of come into position as we're now going into a lot of roaches. Now, the roach strategy in the previous game worked out pretty well, or sorry, on Neoplanet S worked out pretty well, even though there were siege tanks. We'll see if that is going to be repeated this time around, or if we will see Taeja getting into some siege tanks and now trying to blast roaches before they get in onto that high ground or past this wall here. The third orbital command will be landing. The Overlord should be spotting this in just a moment. Yes, he does spot this, as we now see a train of Hellions making their way into the third base here. Oh, the drones are there. This is going to be an absolute torching. Drones now just falling left and right. How many workers killed? 7 workers killed just in transition, as we are now seeing a Nidus Worm on the high ground. Oh my goodness, Taeja has no idea what's going to be happening here. This Nidus Worm right there, just in a very, like, inside your base. I had not thought of this at all. There is the queens. Creep tumors will be coming down. Roaches are now engaging, and this is a massive battle here. This is a second Nidus Worm now coming in. The queens trying to unload. The queens of Snute dealing so much damage. We should see some transfusions there, as the queens are suffering a bit of damage. All right, that Nidus Worm does get taken down. Roaches are going to be falling. I'm not quite sure why the queens are not getting transfused. That was a bit of miss micro by Snute, as this is an absolute cute play and strategy. Double bunkers inside. Hellions now trying to get some drone kills. Oh, down over here. How much damage can these queens really look to do, as the queens are now out of energy? An additional queen or 2 would have made the necessary difference for all those transfusions, as the SCVs are fighting this all back. 19 workers killed compared to 12. And wow, what is going on here? All right, this one Nidus Worm going to get cleaned up. A second Nidus Worm off over here. Is it going to be able to unload in time and then start putting pressure on the third? I think if Snute had saved up another queen or 2 in that earlier engagement, he would have been in a much better position. Roaches engaging against Marines. The Roaches, however, do deal a bit of damage. Siege tanks are there, as the creep is now starting to slowly spread out once again. The Marines make sure that there is no chance for escape. All of these roaches will get taken down, and Taeja defending that bit of cheese play extremely well. And I don't know what quite to make of this. Are we going to see another Nidus? Why is another Nidus Worm coming into play, as the Roach, oh, gonna finish it off right there. More Marines now making their way over again. It looks as though this Roach trying to finish this here. Snute really doing some cute play, but this is not working as well. Taeja now gonna spot another Nidus Worm trying to come in. SCV's gonna be making its way over, finishing off the Nidus Worm before it completes. There it goes. Snute has wasted enough resources already on a strategy that is not working. 96 supply compared to 89. We are now looking at a bit of a reset here. 71 drones compared to 52 SCVs. Hellbats will be making their way in momentarily as well, as we now see a group of Marines on the move. Combat Shield 1-1 upgrades nearly completed, currently standing at 1-0. Snute needs to get this 4th base up and running. It's StarCraft, Aria. Yeah, it's StarCraft. As my daughter scares the bejeebies out of me this morning. Buy StarCraft? No, there's still a game going. Alright. Marines now coming in here. Medevacs about to push through. Drones may get caught here as the queen quickly falls. Drones now need to try to run away. Snute may end up losing this base here in a straight up engagement with these Marines trying to finish it off. It looks like it will in fact get finished down as all the Marines now get picked up and will be dropped inside the main. Oh, this potentially could be bad. The Spire could get taken down as well. The Spire, very, very expensive tech, as one medevac looks like it will get taken down. There it goes. And now there goes the Spire. Marines now trying to pull back here as, yes, the hatchery does go down. 40 over 24 drones. The medevacs, are they going to be able to unload here? A new Nidus Worm has been destroyed before it was able to even get up and running, and Snute is in trouble. He is now down, and at any game in this series where Taeja had a supply advantage, he was able to quickly take out his opponent Snute here, and it looks as though we will be going into a game 7. Let's take a look at the army. 80 to 64. Mutus now looking to come in here, finish this off. Income no longer Snute's ally at this point, as we are now looking at 3 bases to 3. There is so many drones here, but it has not been pressured at all. Siege tanks now coming forward once again. 1-0 upgrades on those siege tanks will be able to one-shot as the banelings will be rolling forward here. Siege tanks are now ready to go. Zerglings, Roach is now trying to push in, as banelings are going to be rolling in here in just a moment. Taeja just completely blowing this all away. Banelings getting destroyed here. Siege tanks all of a sudden falling apart. A couple of them staying alive just ever so barely, though, as we now see the siege tanks are offering a bit of cover. All right, Snute, if he loses all of these drones here, that will be the death of him. And I do believe this is the death of Taeja, or death of Snute. Snute losing game 6 as Taeja was able to hold off that very cute Nidus play from Snute. Snute unable to get off enough transfusions to try and save his queens, unable to prolong his attack, as the game will be going into a final decisive game 7. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.